Presidential Technical Advisory Committee on New National Minimum Wage submits its report.
INEC concludes collation of governorship election results in Tafawa Balewa local government of Abuja State.
Acting Chief Justice of Nigeria reads Riot Act to staff.
And on Good Morning Nigeria today, we shall discuss the jostling for leadership of the 9th National Assembly.
Can we say all is now set for the takeoff of the 9th National Assembly in Nigeria?
Well, not exactly, because the 8th Assembly still has about 10 weeks to go. And usually the offices that are critical for running the National Assembly are ones that will attract power brokers from different parts of the country who view those positions, especially those of the Senate and the Speaker, as vital in creating a balance in the power play of the polity.
Quite right, Kingsley. Now, this is apparently informing the trend where officials of the Senate as well as the House of Representatives strategize while awaiting the election of new principal officers. Now, since 1999, the zoning principle, though not written, has been adopted by all political parties as well. And the principle influences the election of officials of the National Assembly. The practice in political parties with majority seats most times determine who gets what position.
And of course, in recent times, there have also been claims that the offices of principal officers have been, as it were, zoned to individuals rather than to the geopolitical areas. And some, of course, have sought to understand the parameters that normally would inform the elections of such officers, and more particularly, how involved should the political parties be in the process.
Now, we will analyze the factors that surround the emergence of the National Assembly leadership on the program today. So on that note, I welcome you to Good Morning Nigeria. My name is Blessing Abu. We're reaching you live on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority, the NTA. And we're broadcasting from Abuja, Nigeria's beautiful capital.
And I'm Kingsley Osadolo. Join my colleague Blessing and also welcoming you to today's edition of the program. Beautiful city, by the way, no doubt about it. But the skies are a bit cloudy this morning, and I'm sure it's going to persist for some hours of the day. Now, Good Morning Nigeria, we have our regular complimentary segments, newspaper review, business, sports, and others. In the meantime, let's begin the news with Nolene Belame as our anchor. Good morning, Nolene. How are you?
I'm fine, Kingsley. Good morning, Blessing, and good morning, Nigeria. The Presidential Technical Advisory Committee on the implementation of the new national minimum wage has submitted its report to the federal government. The report contains a recommendation on how best to fund in a sustainable manner the additional cost of implementing the salary increase for workers in the country. The chairman of the committee and renowned economist Bismarck Riwane presented the report to President Muhammadu Buhari.
Mr. Bismarck Riwane and all the committee members, most sincerely, for your patriotism, your hard work, commitment, and sacrifices. I understand that you have worked tirelessly to ensure that you deliver the report before we receive the minimum wage bill from the National Assembly. We will review this report expeditiously. In the process, we may need to engage with some members of your committee. I therefore implore you to make your services available whenever we may call on you.
The governing All Progressives Congress is already working with newly elected members of the House of Representatives from the party to ensure that credible members emerge as principal officers in the 9th National Assembly. To this end, the party executives and national chairman Adams Oshomole had a strategic meeting with the newly elected members in Abuja.
Speaker, a PDP person will not be deputy speaker. A PDP person will not take any of the committees that are meant for the ruling party.
In the meantime, the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has concluded collation of governorship election results from Tafawa Balewa local government area at its state headquarters in Bauchi State. The PDP got 39,225 votes, while the APC polled 30,055 votes. Returning officer for the state governorship election, Professor Kian Mohammed, declared Senator Bala Mohammed of the PDP winner of the March 9th governorship election in the state. The victory of President Muhammadu Buhari and Vice President Yemi Osinbajo at the just concluded general elections has been attributed to the mercies of God. Bishop of Remo Anglican Diocese, Most Reverend Olushina Fakbe, stated this at an interdenominational service of praises and thanksgiving organized by the Vice President at his Ikene Remo country home in Ogun State. Dignitaries from across the country joined the Vice President to give thanks to God.
If you have seen reverses today, even if all does not seem well today, that tomorrow will be so much better than today, that you will praise his holy name.
Acting Chief Justice of Nigeria, Justice Ibrahim Tanko Mohammed, has called for strict compliance with the Code of Conduct for employees in the judiciary as a way of stemming corruption in the third arm of government. He met the call at the opening of a national workshop for heads of lower courts in Nigeria.
Is a different country from what it used to be. Let us effect the changes that gives us all the development in this country. Anything that is not worthwhile, please forget about it.
President Muhammadu Buhari has appointed Professor Aliu Jauro as the new Director General and Chief Executive Officer of the National Environmental Standards and Regulations Enforcement Agency, NESRIA. Aliu Jauro, a professor of industrial chemistry, takes over from Dr. Lawrence Chidi Anukam, whose tenure expired on the 17th of February 2019. Before his appointment, he was Deputy Director at the National Center for Petroleum Research and Development at the Tafawa Balewa University, Bauchi. The activities marking the World Tuberculosis Day has ended with a gala night organized by the wife of the President and the Global TB Ambassador Aisha Muhammadu Buhari at the banquet hall of the Presidential Villa, Abuja. The event was organized to celebrate TB champions and survivors in Nigeria.
Many more have been cured of TB. I want to congratulate every one of us for supporting efforts to end TB in our dear respective communities, states, and all over the country. Our skills, passion, time, and resources have contributed significantly to reduce the spread of TB.
That's the news for now. Good morning, Nigeria continues with Kingsley and Blessing. After this break, I am Nolin Ebel Ame.
Around heartburn and indigestion can be tricky if you eat too much. Eat food that is too spicy or greasy, or lie down after eating. Heartburn and indigestion could always be around the corner. When they come, be prepared with Gaviscon Double Action. It works within 3 minutes and lasts up to 8 hours. Gaviscon Double Action. Many causes, one solution.
What's up?
His friends didn't come.
Hey, let's practice.
But you're going out.
Don't worry about me.
Nothing satisfies a mother more than seeing a child grow up. But I know as he sweats, he'll face the risk of germs which can cause skin irritation.
That's why you need the new Best Ever Dental Cool. Its new advanced formulation with extra menthol protects from up to 100 illness-causing germs and gives your family icy cool freshness.
Growing up needs dental protection.
A new edition of TV Guide is out with special focus on the role of the media in election coverage. Exclusive on the National Broadcasting Commission, its mandate as the sole regulator of Nigerian media. Dr. Toba Daba then and Ishak Modibo Kawu now. This edition also features the king of stand-up comedy in Nigeria, Ali Baba. NTA standards to be ready for election transmission after decades of abandonment. Find out from the DG transactional elections in our political space. An evil wind that blows no good. DG, National Orientation Agency, calls TV Guide, your indispensable companion, x-rays the impact of social media on electioneering process as electorates present their expectations from incoming government. Meet some TV professionals behind the screen and other inspiring stories in sports, entertainment, and lots more. Grab a copy at the vendor near you or NTA stations nationwide. TV Guide, your indispensable companion.
Nigerians. Suicide bombers are not spirits. They are not ghosts. They are human beings like you and me. They live amongst us. They are your neighbors. They are your friends today, but terrorists tomorrow. So you must know your neighbor now. Security begins with you and me. Know your neighbor. Be vigilant. Be security conscious. Report suspicious persons, objects, and movements to the police and other security agencies. The security of our nation is a duty for you and me.
If you see something, say something. Nigeria, unite against terrorism. This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
All right, you're welcome back, and still good morning, Nigeria. Now time for us to take some business stories with the point of sale transaction recording increased volume in Nigeria as it leads other e-payment channels in 2018. Here's our correspondent Kunle Adeyeye with the details.
The Central Bank of Nigeria revealed that point-of-sale transactions rose from 9 million in 2013 to 285.89 million last year. CBN Deputy Governor of Financial System Stability, Mrs. Aisha Ahmad, disclosed that automated teller machine transactions rose by 196%, 295 million in 2013, compared with 875 million in 2018. Electronic transfers via web also rose from 2 million in 2013 to 50.8 million in 2018, while paper-based payments transactions using checks declined from 14 million in 2013 to 9 million in 2018. She emphasized that Nigeria's payment system has changed significantly and will continue to develop. In another development, a capital market expert, Professor Uche Uwaleke, has urged the federal government to sustain the tempo of investment in the creative industry, saying it is complementing the diversification drive of the federal government. He said this will also engage sizable numbers of the youth.
Some other sectors that hitherto, we are neglected, before now, but are also beginning to pick up. One of which is this, the creative industry. Nollywood has a lot of potentials to earn forex for Nigeria, and of course, tourism is something that flourishes with entertainment. So if we get that entertainment right, if we get the ICT sector, right, we invest in the requisite infrastructure, broadband technology, it will also have a positive knock-on effect even on the financial sector, because it will enable financial inclusion.
And next is graphic representation of Monday's trading on the floor of the Nigerian Stock Exchange. With business news, I'm Kunle Adeyeye.
Thank you, Kunle, for the update on business. Up next for us is a newspaper review.
Our newspaper reviewer, Bayo Atwebe, is with us on the studios as always. Bayo, good morning and welcome.
Thank you, Kingsley. Good morning. Good morning, Blessing. Good morning, Nigeria.
All right, let's begin with you.
Let's kick off with Daily Trust. And leading for the Daily Trust this morning, ex-minister Mohammed is new Bauchi governor-elect. That's Bala Mohammed now. And there is a rider, let's work for smooth transition. It's coming from the governor. Still on the front page, we have other political stories. Appeal quarters, Zamfara, APC has no candidates. More details about that on page 12. And to the right-hand corner, still on the story, political. 9th Assembly, APC recommends Lawan for Senate presidency. That's story found on page 3. Quickly now to other papers, before just for me to look at political stories. Supplementary polls, that's New Telegraph now, New Telegraph, supplementary polls. EU observers blame INEC, security agencies for violence. Moving further down the paper, APC petitions police, DSS over hacking of INEC server. Once PDP chieftains interrogated, prosecuted, and there is a rider to that as well. Stop blackmailing tribunal, PDP tells Buhari and APC. For the Daily Sun, let's go quickly now to the Daily Sun. Lawal in Dume fight for Senate presidency. 2 Northeast senators formally join the race. APC won't share power with PDP. That's coming from Oshamale. And Buhari, APC chair. Governors agree on consensus candidates. You have the photograph of the 2 contenders. That's Lawan as well as Dume. And the story from Zamfara is still on the front page of the Daily Sun as well. Zamfara Appeal Court nullifies APC primaries and Guba Assembly elections in jeopardy. Bauchi Guba, INEC set to declare winner. Okay, let's see some political stories from King's paper.
All right, Daily Independent and Nigerian Pilot, I have those papers. So we'll take a look at the political stories, which are quite many on this front page. Daily Independent, above the nameplate, says court sacks APC Zamfara governor-elect and parliamentarians. That's on page 4. And the lead story says APC to zone Senate president to Northeast, Speaker Southwest, with 3 riders. Buhari, Tinubu, back Lawan, and Bajabia Mila for Senate president and Speaker. Don't do business with PDP, Oshomole warns first-time reps. Ifeanyi Uba decamps to APC as Buhari meets party's senators-elect. That story, of course, continues on page 5 of the Daily Independent. And the second lead story on the front page there, below the photograph, is APC urges arrest of PDP leadership over alleged hacking of INEC server. You are jittery, PDP tells Buhari and APC. And then on the right-hand column, you have other headlines there on politics. AAC's deputy governorship candidate dumps Amechi for Wike. That's on page 43. Another building collapses, of course, on Lagos Island, which is not political. PDP wins Bauchi governorship poll, and you can see the results there from the final collation. And from the Nigerian Pilot, you have a number of political stories as well. Below the nameplate of the Nigerian Pilot, it says, National Assembly leadership, it's winner take all. That's according to Oshomole, winner take all. Details can be found on page 5. Arrest PDP leaders. APC tells police and DSS, says they hacked into INEC server, accuses INEC of criminal conspiracy. PDP to Buhari and APC, you are jittery. Insists Atiku Abubakar won the presidential election. And also below that, you have Appeal Court sacks all APC Zamfara candidates. OK's conclusion of Bauchi governorship poll. Bauchi poll has been concluded.
Yes.
Bayo.
Let's start from the courts. The court sitting in Abuja, the Federal High Court, yesterday reversed itself, and that led to the Bauchi gubernatorial election being concluded. Senator Bala Mohammed has been declared winner of the Bauchi State governorship election. He pulled 515,113 votes to beat the incumbent governor, Abubakar Mohammed, who pulled 500,625 votes. The returning officer, Mohammed Kiari, made the declaration. Earlier in the day, the Federal High Court at Abuja had dismissed an earlier order halting the collation of results for governorship election, specifically for Tafawa Balewa constituency. Following that, rescinding that order, INEC concluded collation, and accordingly, the returning officer announced the result. The other court decision also came from Sokoto Division of the Court of Appeal. It declined the recognition of the All Progressive Congress candidates held for, by the primaries and that produced the governorship, National Assembly, as well as State Assembly candidates for the election. In an unanimous decision by the court held that the State High Court failed to properly evaluate the evidence before it. It means that the governorship elect and candidates elect of the National and State House of Assembly were not properly elected. Accordingly, the court declined recognition of the primaries that produced them. Should this judgment be sustained, the implication may be that it may mean that the runners-up in those positions, those elected positions, may have to step in and take those positions. The other developments also relate to the National Assembly. When the ninth Assembly opens in June, the All Progressive Congress says that they must have the headship of all the leadership of the party and all chairmen of all committees. This is the position that ensued from a meeting of the All Progressive Congress National Working Committee with the members-elect for the House of Representatives. The chairman of the party declared pure APC, unadulterated. At the meeting at Shehu Musa Yaradua Center, Comrade Adam Oshiomole said that APC will not allow a repeat of the mistake it made during the inauguration of the 8th Assembly in June 2015 when conspiratorial alliances were formed. He said specifically, we have the numbers to insist and win the Speaker, Deputy Speaker, and all the leadership of the National Assembly. Presently, he says that the APC has 223 members elect in the House. He told them, we are one family, joined together as shown in our broom. We will not allow divide and rule where they will sponsor some among us. We will not share power in the House of Representatives. The only position we are not interested in is the minority leader. Similarly, the president-elect also held a meeting with APC governors and governors-elect as well as senators-elect. This was to ensure that a strong bond between the legislature and the executive for the 9th Assembly, when it resumed, leads to the next dispensation of serious cooperation. A dinner was also hosted for them later in the day. Senator-elect on the platform of the Young Progressive Party, Ife Ayuba, was seen attending the meeting. This is why one paper is speculating that he has already come to the APC.
Daily, that's the Daily Independent. You know, but even before inauguration is decamping, I'm sure that will be a curious development, particularly as he won on the platform of the YPP. That's the Young Progressives
But
party.
already aspirants are beginning to emerge for the Senate, among the senators elect, particularly among the ranking officers, especially those who have, some of them have already declared their intentions. While the party is working to provide a consensus candidate, indications are that the presidency and the party tend to favor the candidates they shortlisted for 2015. Some zones are also clamoring, particularly North Central is clamoring that they produce the third largest votes, therefore they should be the one to produce the leadership for the House of Representatives. Some members are also grumbling silently that imposition of leadership is undemocratic. Meanwhile, the party says that they work out a formula that will be acceptable to all. So these are delicate moments for them.
You know, the front pages of the papers are busy with political stories, but there's something that I think we need to just immediately deal with. And it's a fairly common mistake. Let's go back to the Nigerian pilot.
Yes.
You see the Nigerian pilot. below the nameplate of the Nigerian pilot, you see the headline there. It says NAS. That's, of course, we don't abbreviate it. We say National Assembly Leadership. Now, the paper is writing, it's winner takes all. Now, that is not correct. The expression is, it's winner take all. And it's hyphenated.
Yes.
You know, you have a hyphen between the winner and take and then all. It's not winner takes all. Winner takes all is the title of a book. But the expression is winner take all. So don't think that it's incorrect English when you say winner take all. I mean, yesterday, you recall we were discussing, you know, the outcome of the supplementary elections, and, you know, the expression went on, you know, winner take all. One or two persons called me to say, look, why are we saying winner take all? I said, okay, go look it up in your dictionary. And of course, the person did, and then I confirmed that
Sure, broadcast time is learning time.
Yes, it's winner take all. The other issue, of course, there will be many matters arising from that. That's the Court of Appeal decision on what happened in Zamfara. I'm sure you recall that at some point, Rivers and Zamfara were on the same page.
Yes.
In terms of the fact that it was held that the APC in those states did not conduct their primaries according to the time delimited by INEC, and therefore they would not be eligible to present candidates for all the elections, of course, other than the presidential election. Of course, that of Rivers continues to hold, which is why APC then adopted AAC, you know, whose deputy governorship candidate has now resigned, you know, from that particular ticket. But in the APC's case, it was, of course, curious to the extent that Zamfara State High Court said no, that in fact primaries validly took place. And so the candidates that emerged from those primaries could take part in the elections. Unfortunately, we have had this decision now. Some will say fortunately as well, because members of the party were the ones who went to court. Now, in the absence of any further appeal to the Supreme Court, and of course, if the decision is not upturned, depending on what the facts are, depending on how the Supreme Court sees it, there will be consequences, as you also have indicated, namely that there was no foundation in the first instance for those candidates to have taken part in the election. So, and therefore, they cannot have any benefit arising from the outcome of the elections. INEC, of course, will have to withdraw whatever certificates of return, withdraw, nullify, and then issue new certificates, of course, to those who were deemed to have emerged. Yeah, the runners up. Now, that should also be distinguished from what happened in Delta. In one of the Delta, there was a decision recently that, look, one faction of the party wasn't the authentic faction that should have conducted the primaries. Are you with me? Not that primaries didn't take place, I mean, but they had, you don't remember there was a time they were having parallel congresses and parallel primaries and so on and so forth. So that is different because the party, of course, who stood for the election, are you with me? And the votes, of course, will go to the party, and the authentic fashion that should have presented a candidate for the election, validly so, through their own primaries, will now step in for that particular purpose. Yes. But I'm sure that there are other issues that will come up arising from this bio.
That becomes a family affair within this.
I like that.
Okay, let's see some other stories quickly. Another building collapse in Lagos. Let's take a look at the front page of the New Telegraph. You have the photograph there. Children injured as 3-story building collapse in Lagos. Well, those are scenes of incidents. And also, the front page of the Daily Trust has the same story. Okay, this one immediately you might not be able to pick up, but it's on the 40th page of the national news. Renowned poet Gabriel Okara dies at 97. And Bayelsa declares 3-day mourning, flag to fly at half-mast. Flag will also fly at half-mast. Kingsley.
All right. From the Daily Independent, we'll just take one story above the nameplate. It says, federal government's plan to cut salaries scares NNPC, CBN, and FIRS workers as government receives minimum wage implementation report. Once again, federal government's plan to cut salaries scares NNPC, CBN, and FIRS workers. We don't know whether there are plans indeed, whether that is part of what is contained in the report. The president received the report yesterday and said that they will study it and probably re-invite some of the members to discuss matters arising therefrom. Now, below the nameplate of the Nigerian pilot, Suspected herdsmen sacked 2 communities and razed 27 houses in Nasarawa. That's on page 6. And then right at the foot of the front page again, the story that Blessing read, Dixon, that's Governor of Bayelsa, eulogizes late Gabriel Okara. This is a fisherman's invocation. Yeah, that's right. He's a great poet, declares 3 days of mourning. He passed away just on the eve of his 98th birthday. Again, 2-story building collapses in Lagos. That's, of course, a wake-up call to speed up the relocation and demolition of those structures. Legal battle for Rivers governorship result begins on March 28.
Actually, it's a 3-story building that collapsed in Lagos.
Yes, that's what I indicated.
Yes,
Kakawa also.
yes, Kakawa, where you used to have daily times in those days. It's still there. Luckily, there was nobody that was trapped in the building. Indications were that last Friday, there was notice given for demolition and people were advised to evacuate. Some people were still moving their property when the building came down on its own. 2 people were said to have been injured by rubbles and they were taken to hospital. This is the third building that is collapsing in Lagos in 2 weeks. The other one collapsed at Ibadan about 2 weeks ago. This building collapse has gotten the attention of the Building Collapse Prevention Guide of Nigeria. And they say there are about 36,000 potential buildings that might soon collapse in Lagos. The president of the association, Akinola George, says that this is because most of the buildings in Lagos State are constructed by people who are not properly trained. And he says that they conducted the survey over 45,000 sites, and they found that 20%, about 9,000 of those houses were properly constructed. Therefore, 36,000 handled by quacks and other people they describe as faceless characters are waiting to collapse. The BCPG is an umbrella body for the construction of construction professionals, and they advise the Lagos State government to immediately set up a high-powered committee to check on all buildings on Lagos Island, particularly those in areas they describe as Oronshoki, Bariga, Shomolu, Ebutemeta, Moshin, as well as Adigunle. They also identify that their precautionary standing measures should be identified for those buildings. The other story which Kingsley and Blessing read relates to the Presidential Campaign Council of the All Progressive Congress that has petitioned the police and Department of State to invite and interrogate, possibly prosecute leaders of the People's Democratic Party. They are alleging that there was illegal access to the server of the Independent National Electoral Commission. Festus Kayamo, director of the Strategic Communication, alleges that Alhaji Atiku Abubakar claimed to have access to INEC server, and he says they prepared presidential election results and surfaced on the internet upon postponement of election on February 16 for the national presidential election. It's what he described as fake results. It gave details of scores of major political parties and gave victory to Atiku Abubakar. And therefore, he said that after election of February 23rd and the President Muhammadu Buhari was declared a winner, they cried foul. He claimed that it had a result from INEC server. So he's contending that they should be investigated how they got access to INEC server. The chairman of the People's Democratic Party, Uche Sekondo, says the All Progressive Congress and President-elect were panicking because they have instituted a case against them at the tribunal. He said they failed in their clandestine move to dissuade them from going to the tribunal, and they ought to file their defense to the election tribunal because they are determined to claim their mandate. So it's one hue cry on there, but if actually there's a petition, then it gives ground for the police and DSS to investigate, and the veracity of those assertions will now be put into public domain.
Well, they've been petitioned to.
All right, let's take our editorial this morning. And it's from the Punch newspaper, that is at page 18. It says, 2019 budget, avoiding past legislative pitfalls.
Simply, the editorial is concerned that the fear that we may not go the same way we had always gone. You will recall that the past 2-3 previous budgets, none of them were passed before May. And by the time you pass the budget in June or July, half of the year is gone. And particularly that the current administration made a strident effort to try and return to the budget cycle of January to December. And so they are now drawing attention that the National Assembly, upon resumption, particularly since last week, declared that they were going to devote time for the budget. And the editorial is urging them to put aside all other prejudices and concentrate on empowering the budget so that it becomes a very positive impetus to build on the positive growth elements that the nation has attained. They warn about positive growth indicators and giving the budget a shot in the arm so that it can pick up and improve on the economy. You see, legislators should not undermine the good intentions to boost the economy. There is a need to return to January to December budget cycle, but then this is the time for them to lay the foundation so that they can get the budget going so that they will have at least a longer time to dispense that with. He said they should be able to produce a budget that will be the budget of the nation, that will push the economy onto the height of economic growth.
All right, Bayo, thank you very much. I think that's all we're going to have from the papers today. Just one story there from New Telegraph. It says foreign airlines fret over Lagos airport apron congestion. And I'm sure these are issues that they'll have to worry about with regard to the expansion of the terminals and the construction of new ones. I mean, you visit some airports and you just find that, construction is it's almost going on, on a regular basis. And
yeah, because limitation to some of the aprons. So you have some aprons that are incapacitated and limited ones used.
Okay, Bayo, see you tomorrow midweek.
Tomorrow will be another day.
Okay. All right, it's Good Morning Nigeria, still on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. We'll take a short break now. When we return, we'll get ahead with our principal item for discussion this morning, and that has to do with the jostling for leadership positions in the forthcoming 9th National Assembly.
A new edition of TV Guide is out with special focus on the role of the media in election calling. Exclusive on the National Broadcasting Commission, its mandate as the sole regulator of Nigerian media. Dr. Toma Daba then and Ishak Modibo Kawu now. This edition also features the king of stand-up comedy in Nigeria, Ali Baba. NTA standards to be ready for election transmission after decades of abandonment. Find out from the DG transactional elections in our political space. An evil wind that blows no good. DG, National Orientation Agency Conference. TV Guide, your indispensable companion, x-rays the impact of social media on electioneering process as electorates present their expectations from incoming government. Meet some TV professionals behind the screen and other inspiring stories in sports, entertainment, and lots more. Grab a copy at the vendor near you or NTA stations nationwide. TV Guide, your indispensable companion.
Nigerians. Suicide bombers are not spirits. They are not ghosts. They are human beings like you and me. They live amongst us. They are your neighbors. They are your friends today, but terrorists tomorrow. So you must know your neighbor now. Security begins with you and me. Know your neighbor. Be vigilant. Be security conscious. Report suspicious persons, objects, and movements to the police and other security agencies. The security of our nation is a duty for you and me.
If you see something, say something. Nigeria, unite against terrorism. This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture. If you hear a bomb explosion or gunshots of an active shooter, that might be a terror attack. At such times, always remember 3 action words. Run, hide, report. Don't try to run towards the terror scene to save the situation, because there might be a second bomb blast or another attack. Run far away and take cover. Make sure you are safe first. Yes, it is in our nature to sympathize over the hurt, but remember, only trained personnel can help in such situations. When in a secured environment, promptly call relevant authorities and help will come. For anonymous reporting, call 09630-3250-5 or 0813-2222-106. If you see something, say something. Nigeria, unite against terrorism. This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
All right, welcome back, and it's still Good Morning Nigeria, reaching you live on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. Now, to set a tone for our discussion this morning, let's listen to what Nigerians have to say on the jostling for the leadership of the 9th National Assembly. Our correspondent Aisha Obale spoke to them.
What I expect is that the law should be strictly followed. Any leader that will obey the rule of law should be elected. That should be the number one factor, a leader that obeys the rule of law. And then one that has the concern of Nigeria at heart, not just those that are self-centered. Because if you have self-centered leaders, at the end, they end up embezzling funds and they're not doing what is expected of them as leaders.
I think so that the new National Assembly head, you can back president to do work for this country. The country is move forward.
Actually, the National Assembly, what we believe, they are coming this 2019. We believe that the leadership is going to be okay, based on their work they have started. Actually, it was not an easy thing as it happens another day. But we believe that when they are coming, they are going to do something, because I believe that the leadership is more or less on honesty and integrity. And then we are also believing that they are coming is going to be something, they are going to come with a good ideas that are going to change this country.
I need them to cooperate with the president so that Nigeria can be moved forward.
Thank you very much, Aisha Bali, for the background report to set the tone for our conversation. But then let's welcome our guests who have already joined us in the studio here, as well as the center in Ibadan. Let's welcome at this point Mohammed Kumalia, is a former minority leader, House of Rep, and also Chairman Northeast Advocacy Group. So Kumalia, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Also with us in the studio, let's welcome a professor with the Department of Political Science. That's Professor Kamal Bello, National Open University of Nigeria. Welcome to the program.
Thank you very much.
Okay, well, we'll await the signal to join our guest in Ibadan. We'll start off with a guest here. Kingsley?
All right, gentlemen, once again, a pleasure to have you with us on Good Morning Nigeria. Let's begin, of course, with the insider. That's to say, Honorable Mohammed Kumalia, who was former minority leader of the House of Representatives. As things stand, the 8th Assembly still has about 10 weeks to go. But the National Assembly elections have been virtually concluded, and the relative strengths of the parties can be ascertained. Is it a bit too early now to be talking about the potential leadership of the 9th Assembly, which is not going to emerge until sometime in June after the convocation of the 9th Assembly? Honorable Kumala.
Yeah, thank you very much, and thank you for having me this morning. I think it's not early to start talking about the process of the emergence of the leadership of the 9th National Assembly, because there is the role and responsibility of the party, which is supposed to kickstart the process and set the stage for the legislators to key in and then do what they're supposed to do. You know that Nigeria, the democratic system in Nigeria is anchored by the Constitution. And the Constitution of Nigeria clearly specifies in Section 14.3 that the government, the composition of the government of the Federation shall be made up of people from across the country to reflect, the diversity or in the words of the Constitution, to reflect the federal character. So in this wise, what the political parties usually do is to ensure that these offices, the office of the president, the office of the vice president, the office of the leadership of the National Assembly, the Senate President, the Speaker, are distributed in a manner that this Constitution speaks to, which is that no people from a few, ethnic, sectional, or other groups shall dominate the government of the Federation or its agencies to the exclusion of the others. So to that extent, that is where you find the issue of federal character coming in terms of elective offices and appointive offices. So the parties are supposed to set the stage and say, okay, now that we have a president and a vice president, in the case of the ruling party, for instance, there is the office of the Senate President, the Speaker. The Senate President is number three most important, the highest number three position. We have the Speaker, and so on. So these offices are supposed to be zoned in a manner that the other geopolitical zones also have a sense of belonging. Now, this has to come as early as perhaps yesterday. It is when that happens that people from these areas can now say, okay, the position of Senate President has been zoned to my area, and therefore I am interested because I am an experienced senator. I've been there for the last 2 or 3 times, and so on and so forth. So as far as this process is concerned, I think this is about the right time. And in fact, there is actually no time, especially the party coming out with a clear directive on how it wants these offices to be zoned in order to reflect the federal character and the composition of Nigeria.
All right. Professor Kamal Bello, is this too early? And what likely intrigues are we going to be seeing this?
As far as I'm concerned, we Nigerian elites, we need to take a look into what we are doing. Most of the time, we've spent nothing less than 60 to 70% of our life about election and selection. We occupy this position. We are not talking of the governance. How do we give a good government? How do we have a leader who is responsible and responsive to the yearnings and aspirations of the masses? We have been counting almost 60 years of independence. We are still thinking of no water, no electricity, no school, no this. We spend, the party caucus or the party national working committee should have done this in passing without much ado, without much noise. But it's in our character as elites, political elites, education elites, even the press, everybody's interested. Who is occupying? Who is not occupying? Who will come in, who will not come in? It should be something in passing. The National Working Committee or the caucus of the party should have done this normally, as a normal routine. So it is a two-way thing. Is it earlier to do it? Is it late? It's a normal. It's not. If we take it as normal, whenever we do it, it's normal. It's not too early. It's not too late. But the main thing is that we put more attention on election, selection, who occupy position, than who governs us.
Well, Professor Bello, I'm sure you have also picked up some vibrations relating to the fact that there are claims that the 8th National Assembly has not had a pretty healthy relationship. Some would say outrightly an antagonistic relationship with the executive branch. And this is on account of how the leadership of the 8th Assembly emerged. And therefore, drawing upon lessons from the 8th Assembly, which is running its course, shouldn't therefore be greater concern and interest in how the leadership emerges, and therefore have a stable ship right from the beginning without debate as to who is the skipper.
In an ideal situation, in 2015, the commander-in-chief came out. He said he can work with anybody. And that's how it should be. As far as you follow the Constitution, the rules and regulations guiding you, not putting whims and caprices into it, there won't be a problem. Anybody can be Senate President. Anybody can be Speaker. As far as you are following the rules and regulations, you don't delay budget unnecessarily. You don't delay screening of appointees unnecessarily. If you don't do that, the tension we are talking about is caused by our character as elites in Nigeria. Because we want to grab, we want to take more. We are not ready to sacrifice. We are not ready, we are not patriotic. We are not committed to building the nation. If we are to build the nation, we will be conscious. This budget that was brought to us as National Assembly member within 2 months, 3 months, let's pass it and go. Which budget are we even talking about in Nigeria? 70 or 80% of our budget is for salary, recurrent expenditure. It's only 30% or 20% for capital expenditure. And that's where the work is. Salary cannot stop because the Constitution gives right to the president to continue paying salary, even if the budget is not approved. So we, the elites, are still the problem. That's we are the one creating the tension. The tension we saw in the 8th Assembly is because of our individual character. Bring budget to me, I pass. Bring candidate to me, I screen. Most of the candidates we screen, we still find fault with them at the end of the day. After wasting a lot of time, we still find fault with them. The budget we pass, at the end of the day, we still find fault in them. Because we are not committed. It's commitment, sacrifice, patriotism, nationalism that we deserve as elites to move this country forward.
Just before we go over to another guest, are you implying that commitment, therefore, will mean that the National Assembly should be a rubber stamp? Bring budget, I pass. Bring nominees, I approve.
No, when you are talking, those are the language we in Nigeria try to introduce into our political life. Rubber stamp. Rubber stamp. Do you know the National Assembly of Nigeria is more robust than the 36 state assembly? And nobody is talking about them as being rubber stamp. They are worse than rubber stamp. The press are not putting eye on them. They are not even revealing to us what they are doing in the... We have seen a state governor who brought budget to assembly in the money, but even they passed it. Yes, we are not saying they should not screen, they should not look at, they should not scrutinize, but let it be done patriotically.
Okay, thank you very much, Professor Bello Kamal. Okay, well, we earlier told you that we have another guest joining us from our Ibadan Center. Let's welcome at this point Dr. Stephen Lafenwa. He's of the Department of Political Science, University of Ibadan. Dr. Stephen Lafenwa, welcome to Good Morning Nigeria. We could as well take off your own opening remark on what should be the composition, or what do you think, your estimation, the calculation, the puzzles of what the emergence of the leadership of the National Assembly will look like for the 9th Assembly?
This is the critical moment in our political history as far as democracy is concerned and its consolidation. Because the 8th Assembly, to some of us, we are so disappointed because we didn't expect, much of the behavior that they, exhibited so far. But be that as it may, now that we are talking about selecting, appointing, electing, the new leader, constituting the new leadership of the 9th Assembly, there are critical things that we need to look for. The first thing has to do with those who have been there before, the experience, because that is one of the best international best practices all over the world. It's not a matter of the junior senators or junior House of Rep member begin to, contending with the senior members. And also we have to talk about the process, because democracy itself is process-driven, it's law-driven, and we have to follow, the process of, selecting, the House leadership and the Senate leadership. Because what we discovered in the 8th Assembly was that the influence of the party didn't work, because the House of Representatives and the Senate, they have their rules which they have to follow. It is not the party members that will come on a vote, but those members of the party that were elected on their platform that will vote. So they will play their politics, they will lobby, they will do all those things, but the most important thing is that the procedures are there, who is going to be the Senate president, who is going to be the House of Reps and Speakers, they have to come from those people that have been there before, those who have the experience, those who know the House rule, those who can relate well. But And another important factor has to do with, the issue of executive legislative relations, as far as leadership is concerned. I will not support those people that say that they should cooperate, with the president, or they should not be in conflict with the president. Everything has to do with what the Constitution says. Whether legislative executive cooperation or legislative executive conflict, every action or inaction should find its expression, in the Constitution. It's not a matter of the party that I've come from, and that's why APC has to be mindful of how they are going to play their card, because the majority party is supposed to, have its member, how in the leadership, and they are talking about majority now. The course is not clear so far, because if they are focusing on the majority members of the House of Reps and also the majority members in the Senate, what of those other party members from other parties who can align with the opposition party and form a coalition against the ruling party? So all these things must be put into consideration in the selection. What matters most is the integrity of those people that will be elected, talking about how accountable they will be to Nigerians. Because it is very, very important for us to note at this point in time that the laws drafted and passed by the National Assembly and given assent to by the president will govern the Nigerian people and also the Nigerian state. So we should be very careful in how we play our politics this time around, so that good people, credible people, experts, and those that understand the rules and the procedures of the National Assembly will be elected, and we carry on in the next assembly.
All right, Dr. Lafenwa, thank you very much there for your opening salvo. We'll return to you in the course of this conversation. Now, back to our studios here, Honorable Mohammed Kumalia, former minority leader of the House of Reps. You listen to Professor Kamal Bello say that, look, this is almost typical Nigerian obsession with elections and selection, rather than with the nitty-gritty of getting the job done. What's your reaction to that?
Well, I think the selection and the caliber and the integrity of the leadership has a lot to do with the type of work that you expect the parliament to deliver. And that brings us to the issue of the selection process. You would not expect, a robust National Assembly being led by somebody that does not have, the experience, the patriotism, the nationalism, as it were, as Professor said. Now, all these, outcomes that you're interested in has to start off from, the process of selection of the leader. Now, and that is why it is important for the party to allow for a robust exercise, for a robust, process that would lead to the emergence of the leadership. Like I said earlier, the party is expected to set the ground rules, the parameters, like the zoning of the offices and so on and so forth. But the issue of selecting, or rather electing, the responsibility for electing the leadership of the National Assembly, especially the presiding officers, the Senate President, the Speaker, the Deputy Senate President, Deputy Speaker, is the responsibility of the legislators themselves. And you have to allow for competition. And that is the only way through which members, both the old and the new, can say that, okay, Mr. A, B, and C are contesting for this office. And because of what I heard him say, because of the interactions I've had with him, because he invited us for a session where he addressed us on his agenda for the 9th National Assembly, I think this guy is more experienced, this guy is more patriotic, this guy has what it takes. And, again, like the doctor from Ibadan said, the issue of executive-legislative relationship is very important. like you, during your opening, statement, you said that the 2015 process that emerged, that brought out the present leadership, has been described by some people as even antagonistic. The relationship has been antagonistic. And that impacts negatively on the outcome that Professor is talking about. When you have a leadership that is seen, by the majority of the parliamentarians as the unwanted group, and then they eventually emerge, then you have sown the seed for friction down the line in terms of the executive-legislative relationship. So that is why the political parties, especially the ruling party, has to be very careful in, nominating, so to speak, or in identifying the person that they like. Because once the party says among a pack of people, this is the person that we as a party are endorsing for this position, which means that they are not endorsing the others. And, in Parliament, the Constitution has made a tripod in terms of the three arms of government, executive, legislature, and the judiciary. And this tripod is such that each one of them is expected to have a certain level of independence. You interrelate, you work together, but there's the independence of the legislature. And as a parliamentarian, I can tell you that there is no legislator in this world that would want to be seen or tagged, as was said earlier, as a rubber stamp. But that does not mean to say that the legislature should not cooperate. The legislature should cooperate and work with the executive, just as we would expect that the executive should cooperate and work with the legislature in harmony. Because it is when there's this harmonious relationship that the outcome will be such that it would benefit the people. When you talk about what are the deliverables in terms of the governance process, the deliverables, are going to be processed by the key players.
All right, Honorable Kumala, let's pause you here. There are, amongst the points that you have raised, two of them that, of course, we'll dwell on. That's Professor Kamal Bello. One, you said that the party can, of course, and should outline the zoning of the various offices, but that the choice of who then emerges as the principal officers should be left to the lawmakers themselves. Those are the 2 points amongst the points that you have made. Professor Kamal, part of what we have had cause to discuss on Good Morning Nigeria from time to time has to do with, one, internal party discipline, arising also from party management, and the fact that party loyalty is a major challenge, or has been a major challenge for us in the Fourth Republic. Bearing this in mind, what will be your disposition towards now the steps that are being taken, baby steps still initially, towards the emergence of the leadership of the 9th National Assembly in another 10 weeks or so?
Yes, thank you. To start with, in any civilized country, simple majority party in the parliament produces the leadership. Simple. Not even greater majority, not 2/3 majority. But in the Nigerian Fourth Republic, we are trying to change that concept. If you go to America, the party that has majority even by 1, if the majority drops today, it will step down. It will not fight. That's why I'm saying our political elites are the problem of this country. The position that does not belong to you, what are you looking for it for? Ideally, your party is not majority in the parliament and you want to lead it. It's not proper, intellectually. We need to sit down and question ourselves. Instead of creating tension unnecessarily, let's sit down and understand ourselves. If you want leadership and you belong to minority party, you are allowed to decamp to the majority party so that you can get leadership. You can't move from the minority section and be fighting for the position that belongs to the majority. That's one. Secondly,
unless there is an alliance.
Yeah, if there's alliance, are you getting it? There could be alliance. Alliance. You said alliance. Yes. Alliance which with the agreement of the majority party. That's alliance. Not that you are playing you are scheming on your own. You're not scheming. When they call you, they want to do alliance with you. We don't have majority. Please give us. We'll not give you this. That's alliance. But in a case where, in this our republic now, some of our politicians are now scheming and cause a lot of crisis within. It's not ideal. Secondly, the issue of party supremacy. Party can never, the best way to be supreme as a party is to be seen that you are a father to all. Is to be seen that you are honest and you carry everybody along. If you carry everybody will be happy. I'm sorry to say, in 2015, what happened in the National Assembly is the fault of the party.
Why or how?
Yes. Nigeria is a federalism. As he has said, that's what we call federal character. There's a theory of constitutionalism, constitutional democracy, whereby differences in tribe, ethnic, suspicion must be carried along. So that there will be no what we call the centrifugal forces, so that there can be centripetal forces. You bring people to the center, to the table, to trust, to believe in what you are doing. If you say now, from historically, there are 6 positions that are prominent in Nigeria, in politics, because of our life. If it's another climb, it's a normal thing. But in our climb, we take it to be very important. 1, the president. Number 2, the vice president. Number 3, the Senate president. Number 4, the Speaker of the House of Representatives. Number 5, the Secretary to the Government of the Federation. And then number 6, party chairman. 6 positions are very important to us in Nigeria from time immemorial. We are not saying it's ideal, but that is what we have been doing. Then, any party who want to get the cooperation of members of the assembly should try to zone those 6 positions into these geopolitical zones. If you do it, everybody will go. It happens in 2015, this 8th assembly, that the zoning was not properly done. That's why there was a protest in between.
So what becomes of what they say, okay, political zoning, yes, as well as some other situation favoring individuals? How is it playing out?
That's what I'm talking about, the party to take everybody as one, as their children, as a father. You stand as a father. This position, I don't have interest in any of you. But I have interest that we should try to zone, to share this thing properly. Not this is your position. Among yourself, go and meet. Then bring a candidate for us.
But let's Professor
yes,
Kamal Bello, and just laughing while you're listening to this from our Ibadan Network studios. Is it realistic for a party, even playing the father figure role, to say, these are the positions, I have no interest in any of you?
Not individual, but the zone. I'm interested in how to make Nigeria.
That's fine.
To bring what we call the centripetal forces.
Yeah, just hang on a second.
And federal character.
Hang on a second, Prof. To say that, look, once you zone, to say, okay, this position goes to, you're from the northeast, I believe. The northeast, I'm from the south-south. Then you are from, I'm not sure, not central, but just give you examples. And then southwest. These positions go there. As a party, we have no interest whatsoever. Is that realistic? Shouldn't a party also be concerned? Or a party, it could just be a concern to say, look, we just might like to see a person that we can work more cooperatively with. Sir. If that is there, and we recognize it, how can such interest be managed without upturning the apple cart amongst the members who then might be rebellious to say, no, you want this is what we want?
Sir, what I'm trying to say is this. From the First Republic, Second Republic of Nigeria, that's how it was done. And there was a little peace. It's the party work. It's the party that will work. That this is where we are zoned into. And then within the party members too, they will not agree who is the person. Are you getting it? Within everybody, there must be what we call trust among members. We shouldn't discriminate openly. That this one we like, this one we do not like. Okay. Criteria may knock out some people. Are you getting it? Naturally. There are some criteria that will knock out some people naturally. But we don't come out and say, I like you, I do not like you. I'm disposable to you. I'm not disposable to you. I can work with you. I can't work with this. It shouldn't be too open. That's what I'm just trying to suggest. It's a theory. Are you getting it?
Well, I understand what you mean. All of this, of course, is a matter for public conversation. Let's go over to Dr. Stephen Lafenwa, still in our Body on Network studios, to give his own perspective on this matter. Again, to contextualize it, we have seen two issues now that are relevant to the choice of the principal officers of the National Assembly, if you like, most importantly, presiding officers. The party has its own interest to say, look, this is what we would like to have. And then the members, of course, want to get, once they are in meeting, that's because it's only at their own meeting that they can make the choices of their officers. But having party discipline, party supremacy, and party loyalty, how crucial will that be to, well, either the vibrancy of the legislature itself or to the effectiveness of the party in having its agenda favorably disposed to, as it were, by the lawmakers?
Thank you very much. You know, when you talk about party discipline, party loyalty, you know, party supremacy, these are characteristics of parliamentary democracy. You know, I've been listening to other colleagues there, you know, talking about features of how parliamentary system would work. But we are now in presidential system of government. You know, there is no room for collective responsibility. You are talking about individual responsibility. You are responsible for behavior. That's why powers are separated. Persons that will occupy, you know, that will function in those offices are also separated. So when we talk about issue of party discipline, we may not get it the way it should be under the parliamentary system of government, because these are people elected by their constituent members, and they are expecting something from them. So all the members that have been elected on the platform of each party, they are also, you know, lobbying, you know, to ensure that they occupy the position of leadership at the National Assembly level. But the issue of the president saying that it will not interfere, you know, I will say it's not fair, because it's a party leader. You know, there is no way you will not, you know, be interested in who will be, you know, the next Senate president and the House of Reps or Speaker or other offices, you know, principal presiding officers. Because as a party leader, you have so many, you know, resolutions you want to make. You have so many bills you want to pass. You have so many, you know, policies you want to skate through. If you don't get your home people there, you know, it's very, very difficult for you. And that is why, you know, the position of majority leader, the position of a minority leader, and the whips, they are very, very important in other climes. You know, mature democracies. It's not only even about the president of the Senate or even the House of Reps as a speaker. But these people, they are the ones that we, you know, bring compromise when there's problem. When they know that, the parties are not, you know, party members are not in support, they have to make sure that they talk to them and see to the fact that they told the line of the party. So in this case now, we should not begin to expect too much. When you talk about party discipline, they may agree at the level of the party, as we witnessed in 2015. And at the end of the day, they go into the chamber and elect those people that, you know, they prefer that will serve their interest. So what is important here is that we should advise those, you know, senator-elects, those who have been there before and those who are coming there, that they should put the interest of Nigerian first. It's not a matter of who you are. If you are the Senate president today, in the next 4 years, you are not going to be the Senate president. So what you are going to do there in the space of 4 years matter most to us Nigerians and matter most to the president and all other stakeholders. The issue of federal character is already been there, you know, even in admitting students. But what thing is that we should not sacrifice merit at the altar of mediocrity. When you say that, okay, somebody must come from the Southwest to be the Speaker of the House of Reps, is that person competent? Can we talk about integrity of the person? Can we talk about, you know, professionalism? Can we talk about, you know, having experience in doing that? If the person that is coming, if no person, you know, from the Southwest is, you know, has been there before, you know, that means that the post will be zoned to another geopolitical zone. It's not a matter of, you know, we focus, you know, rigidly. You know, our constitution may be rigid, But there are so many ways by we can develop political solutions to solve our problems. I will agree with Professor there that, the political elite, is causing a lot of problems because there are rules, there are procedures which they want to deviate from because of their personal interest. They should put personal interest aside and make sure that national interest, which is Nigeria moving forward, consolidating our democracy after 20 years, is what should be, what should be critical to us now, because Nigeria, the people are watching us. They are expecting much from Nigeria after 20 years of uninterrupted democracy. We are still talking about who will be the president of the Senate, who will be the House of Reps or speakers, when procedures supposed to allow them, to move there, without any, too much politicking, too much lobbying. But as the case is now, we have to, encourage the president to ensure that he liaises with what the party executive and look for those credible people in the party, because as it has been adduced there, it is the majority party that's supposed to form the cabinet. But we should not, forget about don't forget about the politics of Nigeria, politics in Nigeria, in case that because of their interest, they may form coalition, unholy coalition, to ensure that the interest, that they are portraying, is there. So what we should, clamor for is that those people that are going to be there should put Nigerian first and Nigerian first.
Thank you very much, Dr. Lafenwa. We'll still get back to you in the course of the discussion. Let's get back to Honorable Kumalia. Now, share with us, at least being a former minority leader yourself, what kind of politics actually go into, well, perhaps selection, and is guide the process itself? Well, students of, for those who are political students today and likely going to come to leadership tomorrow in whatever form, what goes into that? Let's use the 2015 election for instance. What went on behind the scenes that we didn't get to know until we're told some other persons were actually here planning, okay, this is what the leadership will be, and back there in the Hollow Chamber, something else was taking place?
Yeah, I think that this is a very important question. And I think we need to distinguish two categories of offices. The presiding offices, or rather the presiding officers, that is the Speaker, the Senate President, Deputy Speaker, Deputy Senate President. These four categories of officers, the election is conducted by the entire membership of the House, the Senate or the House, as the case may be. Then the positions of majority leader, chief whip, minority leader, minority whip, and their deputies are a matter for the respective caucuses of the parties. Okay. So now the presiding officers are officers of the National Assembly, of the House. So the Speaker or the Senate President is elected by all senators. That is where the issue of the other parties come into play. As it were, the election of, for instance, the Senate President is going to be decided by the 60-something APC members plus 40-something or so PDP members. And therefore, don't forget, these leaders we're talking about, they are leaders of parliament. As much as they are from a political party, as much as, they are supposed to be loyal to the party, but they are going to lead, their colleagues. And when the election is going to take place, and which is a very important point, there is no other person, either from the party or from the executive arm of government or from anywhere, that will be there to cast a vote. The rules of the House, as it were, clearly states how the elections into the office of Speaker or Senate President is going to be conducted. And that's what is going to happen. And that takes me to the point that you are making. In 2015, when some people that were, kind of overwhelmed by the influence of the party felt that on the day of inauguration, after the president has sent the proclamation and a time has been fixed 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock on a given day, some members went for a caucus meeting kind of elsewhere, not in the parliament. The business of parliament is not going to wait for anybody outside. So that is why I caution that as much as the ruling party would want to, narrow down its choice or its influence in choosing a particular person for the role of a presiding officer, be it Senate President or Speaker, the party must be mindful of the fact that there are other people in that hallowed chambers who have a vote, one. Two, the party must realize that these are not primary school students. We're talking of senators of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. We're talking of members of the House of Representatives, who each of one of them can be anything in this country. Look at their backgrounds. Former this, former that. Retired civil servants and that, this and that. So there are not some babies that you must micromanage. It's okay to have party loyalty. And I am an advocate that members of a political party must be loyal to their party. But the party must also draw a line, must know to what extent it can exert its influence. It's a balancing game. You cannot come and say, or rather dispossess the members of parliament of their right to choose their leader by saying that Mr. A is going to be Speaker of the Parliament or Mr. B is going to be the Senate President. Okay, where does it leave the respective legislators who have been listening to their colleagues and have been wanting to cast their vote for a particular... Look, the most important office in this country is office of the President. The President had to go around the 36 states of the Federation and Abuja and campaign and said, this is my agenda. I want you to elect me. That's the process through which the president, the sitting president who has been elected, got elected. What more of the Senate President or the Speaker? They should have their agenda. They should come out robustly and campaign amongst their colleagues as well as amongst the wider, society, because it's about consensus building. The role of the party, as far as, engaging its members are concerned, as far as I can tell, is to ensure that the caucus, especially in the case of APC in this case, since they are the majority party, to ensure that the members of the party in both the House, and I've seen to be fair to the national chairman, I've seen him starting the process. He met with the House of Representatives caucus yesterday, and I understand that he has met or he's going to meet with the senators of APC to ensure that there is some kind of consensus among them so that they don't split. But where they try to lord themselves over the members, that's where you'll have a split, and that's where a section of them who felt marginalized or who have not been listened to or have not been carried along would go and have an alliance, call it any kind of alliance, holy or unholy, and then they produce a leader of their choosing. And that will be, like I said again, I repeat it, that would be unfortunate.
Okay. All right, Honorable Mohammed Kumaria, and indeed the other guests, we are going on a short break now. But just before we do that, that's a point that also needs to be clarified. The presiding officers of the Senate and the House of Reps, they are not elected by their members for a 4-year tenure. They can be in office for as long and as short as 1 day. All right, so we'll take a short break now.
Why don't you people sell imported materials here?
Welcome, ma'am.
As beautiful as the shop is.
Auntie. Buying foreign goods does not help our economy. Neither does it boost local production. And the good thing is Nigerian-made products are high quality. Really? And to make Nigeria great again, that is why I only sell made in Nigeria products. Because change begins with me.
I'm convinced. Change begins with me too. Change begins with me.
This message is brought to you by the National Orientation Agency in conjunction with the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
All right, you're welcome back, and it's still Good Morning Nigeria live on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. Now let's return to our guests. Professor Kamal Bello, in this conversation, the guests, you have tended to use 2015 as a benchmark, obviously because that's the most recent in the 20-year history of the Fourth Republic. But there were occurrences in 1999 when the Fourth Republic began. And some persons will say that the carryover lessons from that era, ordinarily ought to inform how we proceed going forward. When, therefore, President Muhammadu Buhari in 2015 said, look, I will be not interested, or interfere in how you choose your leaders, some persons believe that he was, in fact, responding to what transpired in 1999 when the then president, Olusegun Obasanjo, sought and at some point got his way in imposing the leadership of the National Assembly, in particular the Senate president. And then you then saw the crisis that arose in the Senate, the so-called banana peel era, and all of that. So, aren't there lessons to learn from that era? So that, yes, the president is party leader, but manage the process, in a way that doesn't create the kind of antagonism that Honorable Komaria himself has also referenced.
Thank you. Nigeria is a complex country. Everything of us is so complex. There is one terminology, abracadabra. The more you look at Nigerians and National Assembly and politicians in Nigeria, the less you understand what is happening. Because if you have read The Watch, written by Obasanjo, you will see that what was happening at that time is exchange of money. Okonjo-Iweala stated a similar thing, that the peace they had in our book, he said they used 17 billion naira to pass 2015 budget. And this present president is telling us that a dime he will not give to the assembly to perform their duty. So that's why I said the more we look, we'll be thinking that what is happening, it can be studied intellectually. But underneath, there are a lot of intricacies, intrigues that you cannot even understand. Exchanges. Okonjo-Iweala confessed in her book. He said to pass 2015 budget, they used about 17 billion naira to do that. Obasanjo removing, the former president Obasanjo, removing Senate president and replacing, it's not for free. It's not ordinary. It's not power, he's using some tricks, intrigues to do that, which has been revealed in his book. He said when they came in 1999, before he discovered, the first president then, Atiku Abubakar, had been able to buy over the members so that he can impose a Senate president. When he discovered...
We have no evidence of buying, so that he won over.
He won over, yes. He said it in the book. Obasanjo said it plain.
But let's say he won over.
Yes, he won over. Let's use that mild word. He won over them. Obasanjo now said he went back to strategize against him. That's why he removed the one that was there, put another one there. So what I'm saying in essence is that let those of us who are elites in Nigeria, particularly the political elites, the National Assembly issue of leadership should not take much of our time. For instance now, I was hearing that winner take all, winner take all. But winner take all that we are doing now that we are hearing, it's still to us is a rumor. It's at an embryonic stage, but it's eating the polity. For instance now, Southwest cannot say it performed better than the North Central. And in all the distribution of positions now, North Central is left out. If the first president is from Southwest, they say Speaker is going to the Southwest again. If the secretary to the federal government is from the Northeast, they say the Senate president is going to Northeast. The North Central also contributed if it's a matter of winner. Those are the things that we are talking about how party can be able to win the support of the members. That's how party can be able to supreme over the members. When you have taken care of each and every one of them, they will be able to cooperate where you say go. they will go.
The South that is producing the oil wealth, what will happen?
No, the South is having the president, I mean, they said the party's chairman already.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
And the Southeast?
The Southeast. I'm only citing an example of winner take all. Okay. Because they are using that theory for us now. That, oh, we cannot give you position because you did not support us. I am now saying that the North Central that supported, which position are they going to be given out of this strategy?
No, Professor Kamal Bello and Blessing, I think we need to get that clear. Because part of what is emerging now is not the, if you like, the sharing of national positions. Sure. It has to do with the operation of the National Assembly. That, look, your presiding officer positions, the chairmanship of very critical committees, as they say, should belong to, should be held by members of the ruling party so that they can drive their agenda. It is not that if you come from the Southeast or you come from the South-South or you come from the North Central, then you will be denied of those positions. I think that's the clarity that we need to make of that.
With due respect.
Yes, please.
With due respect. When you talk of Senate President in Nigeria, because they are related, you say number 3. So it's beyond the National Assembly issue. If you say Speaker, you say number 4 in Nigeria. So it's beyond National Assembly issue.
How?
Because when you say I'm the Senate President, I'm to preside over the National Assembly, it doesn't end there. By the time you are going for protocol in Nigeria, you'll be number 3. So it's a Nigerian thing we are trying to create.
Okay,
beyond the National Assembly.
Looking at the Nigeria thing, you already have pointed out the interest of the people should be at the core of emergence of leaders, whether the Senate or House of Representatives. Isn't that what you pointed out earlier?
In relation.
Okay.
In relation to the well-being of the society.
In relation to the well-being of the society. Now, let's move forward. Let's get back to Dr. Lafenwa in Ibadan. Now, some major issues, of course, like we've already pointed out, in 2015 or even at the beginning of the Fourth Republic, there were moments of instability for whatever reason, whether corruption, Kingsley earlier mentioned the issue of the banana peels, and most leaders at the National Assembly had to actually watch their back. But now, let's take a look of what to actually drive this 9th Assembly as they come in June. What do we need to do differently, whether for the interest of the people, even the supremacy of the party, as well as not having members being upturned in whatever form of manipulation? They must take on that aspect of leadership election or selection, as the case may be. But overall, where do we need to start stringing the knots?
I think one of the critical issues that we need to consider has to do with women inclusion in the leadership position. Now, with all these schemes, all these maneuverings, all these intrigues and whatever, what is the position of the Senate? What is the position of House of Reps with kind of gender, balance? Because women inclusion, so to speak. Because now we have been for over 20 years now. Only once we have a presiding officer, the Patricia at the House of Reps Speaker, and she later was removed. Now we are not talking about those, critical issues, because all over the world now, one of the international best practices is that you should have to consider gender balance, gender equation. And another one that to be critical is, level integrity of those key officers. Whether it's going to be from party, whether it's going to be from members, they have to consider one thing, the integrity. Because look at the present Senate president. He was, wasting our time going to court, a CCT, the Code of Conduct Tribunal, for so many weeks. He was there answering questions. So if we elect the people that have, some issues to resolve, we don't need to, consider it twice before we put them aside and select those people that have clean sheet. Because in Nigeria, we have wasted a lot of time in terms of people going for having one case or the other in the court, and they have to neglect or leave the duty of governance. So what we are expecting, from the 9th Assembly is that they should consider the women, then consider people of good character, people that have, good background, that, that are credible enough to carry on the business of the legislature. Because, as the agenda setter, it's only in this part of the world that we undermine, the role of the legislature. Because it's an agenda setter and also, a connector between the governed and the governors. But here, because of 30 years of military rule, this arm of government has been underdeveloped. And we need to, bring back on board, because the separation of powers, that we are talking about, in the rule of law we are talking about, if the legislature is not vibrant enough, we are not going to have them. And it's going to be a problem for us as far as development and growing our democracy is concerned. So we are imploring, the party and also what the National Assembly, members, that they should consider the issue of, women, and consider the issue of credibility of and integrity of those people that they are going to put into leadership position. We know that apart from the presiding officers, there are also other positions like committee, and subcommittee chairmen and chairpersons. They should consider how to balance everything and make sure that, there is, a sense of belonging by every member. Nobody should, think that, okay, I'm in the opposition group, I'm in the ruling party. The issue of even the language that we are using, this opposition party and the ruling party, we should condemn it under the presidential system of government, because we're supposed to be talking about majority and minority. But when you talk about opposition politics in Nigeria, it's like those who are in opposition are the enemies. They are not the enemies. They are they are also there to perform certain functions, to ensure that, the good governance that all of us would aspire to see, is there. And we should encourage the new members that they should also take caution. They should not just go there and begin to vote on the basis of somebody that have given me money or that promised me to become a chairperson or chairman of a committee. They should vote for their, their conscience and ensure that, people that we assist, Nigeria to move to the next level are appointed. Thank you very much.
All right, Dr. Lafenwa, thank you very much for your views. Now, back to Honorable Kumalia. Again, as a preface to my question, part of the consideration for saying, look, let's deal with the leadership of the Ninth Assembly early enough, is to also ensure that there is a healthy relationship. Healthy, that doesn't mean the absence of quarrel between the legislature and the executive. But how then do we explain what has been a major trait of the National Assembly since 1999? That in spite of the ruling party in the executive having the majority in the National Assembly, both chambers, the relationship between the executive and legislature has always been one of antagonism. In 2002, the National Assembly, particularly the House of Reps, was already moving to impeach former President Olusegun Obasanjo. Articles of impeachment were already being compiled. And you also saw what happened under former President Goodluck Jonathan. At some point, of course, by the time the PDP splintered, you saw the antagonism that went on. And we have also seen that in the course of the presidency of Muhammadu Buhari. Therefore, does all of these permutations of who becomes what and so on and so forth really affect, as it were, the conduct of the National Assembly in relation to the executive, notwithstanding that the executive or the party of the executive might in fact have a majority in the National Assembly?
Well, I think, first of all, I think I'd use this opportunity of this question to clear a few things, allusions that was made by the professor about the impinging on the integrity of the National Assembly. I've been a member of Parliament from 1999 to 2007, 8 years. I was the first minority leader in the House of Representatives in 1999. I can give account of what happened in the first 8 years of the present 20-year Fourth Republic. And even subsequently, I've been fairly close. Some of these issues that have been raised as to, the integrity of the National Assembly in terms of removing leadership is about money. Everything that is being done is about money. I don't agree with that. I can tell you specifically, when Evans Enwerem was removed, the first Senate president, who wasn't the choice of the parliamentarians, because at that time, if you remember, it was Chuba Okadibo that was the preference of the senators. But the executive arm of government, like it has happened subsequently, used its influence and put Evans Enwerem there. But before too long, because it's not their choice, they removed him and they put Chuba Okadibo. And when Chuba Okadibo was going to be removed, he was removed because of late Chuba Okadibo, his own actions and inactions in office. I was particularly very close to him. I was very pained when he was removed. But it was very clear to us that he was going to be removed because of the overbearing nature of his kind of leadership. So it had nothing to do with anybody giving money to anybody. Coming to your question, I think it is important to situate the role of the key players. You see, first and foremost, the Constitution anticipates like I said earlier, the three arms of government, but here, particularly the executive and the legislature, to have some level of independence. They are related, but they are independent. That's one. Two, it is also important that each one of them carries out its functions without any influence or intimidation from the other. The reason why the National Assembly is always in the eye of the storm is that the National Assembly has a responsibility of oversighting the activities of the executive arm of government. So first of all, the National Assembly appropriates money that's supposed to be spent by the executive arm of government. So when it comes to appropriation, you always hear this back and forth as to what powers do the National Assembly members really have. Do they actually have powers to tamper with the, appropriations or the estimates as recommended by the executive arm of government? How much power do they have? Can they reduce? Can they increase? But come to think of it, when a proposal is made by the executive arm of government, and you see ministers, heads of parastatals going to National Assembly. I'm sure most of you go to National Assembly to defend your budget. What does defense mean? You made a proposal. This proposal came from you. It went to the executive arm of government, to the president. The president sent it to the National Assembly. You want $1 billion for a particular project. And, you came before the National Assembly Committee to defend the $1 billion. Yes, we have this project. It's 10 billion naira. We have spent 9 billion naira. It's 1 year remaining to go. We need 1 billion naira to complete it. You defend it, they're satisfied, it goes. But in a situation whereby, you have 1 year, you need 1 billion, because it was a 10 billion naira project, but you now ask for 3 billion. They ask questions. National Assembly. I say, hey, you only need 1 billion, because we have approved 9 billion for you in the past. And therefore, we're not going to give you 3 billion, we're going to give you 1 billion. And the converse is the case when, budgets are increased because you may need 1.5 billion, but the executive arm of government only gave you 1 billion. So these are some of the roles and responsibilities of the parliament. Now, because they oversight how these monies are spent after allocating the money, or after appropriating the money, to use the correct terminology, they oversight the use. They go and visit some of these sites, ensure that these monies are expended in the way and manner spelled out by the Appropriation Act. Now, because of this, there is always this unease, this tension between the executive and the legislature. So we're not expecting, nobody's expecting. If you see a super cozy relationship between the executive and the legislature, Nigeria should cry out. They should be worried. You know what I'm saying? But where you see, a healthy, I like the word healthy, a healthy relationship. Because part of the reason why, as a member of the All Progressive Congress, I am not particularly happy about the executive-legislative relationship in the last 4 years, 2015 to date, because the president had a number of programs and projects that he wanted to execute. But because of the sour relationship, especially with the Senate, a number of these things, were either not passed or were delayed for several months. As we speak right now, there are requests that the president has made to the executive arm of government that have been there for the last 6 months, whether in terms of approving certain people that are going to occupy certain offices that have not been done, and so on and so forth. So a healthy relationship is very important and that should concern the ruling party.
Yeah,
I'm wondering, Honorable Komalia, again from your experience in the National Assembly, and we have had your colleagues also say that on this program, that, all right, I belong to party A, my colleague belongs to party B and C up to Z. But that once we get into the chamber of the National Assembly, what seizes us is the national interest.
True.
If that is so, why then would there be pandering to partisan interest?
Well, in terms of carrying out the legislative duty of the respective parliamentarians, there has to be a balancing between national interest and party interest. In any case, party interest as encapsulated in the different manifestos of the party and the development agenda of the administration, the government in power, is quote unquote national interest, as it were. It is national interest. It's not something from the blues. Sure. It's not anti, the people, so to speak. So for me to pursue the interest of my party, to try to execute or pursue the execution of the developmental, agenda of the government in power is not anti-national interest. So within that context, it is in order to pursue these objectives. However, the relationship between an APC senator and a PDP senator and a senator from Abuja or whatever, in terms of the legislative duties, at that point in time, you don't see yourselves as member of A political party or B political party.
The
because
parliamentarians on behalf of Nigerians.
All of you are working on behalf of Nigerians. You're all employed by the Nigerian people to work for them. So to that extent, I shudder a little bit when some leaders talk about, the members of the ruling party cascading themselves into a block, and they don't want to do anything with other members of other political parties and so on and so forth. The realities are not.
That's unparliamentary.
That's unparliamentary. It doesn't work like that.
Okay, let's. We have some tweets. Let's just run through them before we go on the program this morning. Chibuzo Francis said, "What Prof is saying this morning should be put to work." Well, Prof said so many things, so it's very, very possible. Whatever that means. Okay.
All right. There's another one here from Adeniran Idris. It says the 9th National Assembly leadership the leading political parties should be careful and patriotic in ensuring that the National Assembly principal officers are chosen without bias, and that patriotism, of course, isn't enough until you do not show hatred or bitterness.
Okay, this one is from Comrade Alhaji Ngala. Says Barrister Omar Komalia. Yeah, one-time House leader, what are the ground rules in choosing a nominee? I think we've already dealt with that.
That's right. Another one there from Amabola. It says the ruling party has its manifesto that it seeks to implement for the entire country. It is therefore germane that a National Assembly leadership that shares the same credo with the party comes on board. No one is advocating a rubber stamp legislature, but Nigeria should come first.
Festus Akimbayewa tweets, every region must be represented in the 9th Assembly leadership. Also, there are women who are capable of being leaders, and I urge the 9th Assembly to appoint women into the positions of Deputy Senate President and Deputy Speaker.
Amabwala again has this tweet. So the process of choosing the next leadership for the 9th Assembly is not too early, but attention should really, however, be focused on governance per se, not necessarily who gets what as members of political parties.
Akejo Olagbaji tweets, the leadership of the new assembly, which is an arm of government, should be entrusted to brilliant minds who can promote and synergize with other arms to promote good governance. As regards to zoning, there is nothing wrong if it is a fulfillment of federal character.
All right, those are the tweets that we'll take in the meantime. Professor Kamal Bello, again, would like to have your closing thoughts now, as it were, on this subject matter. It's a matter that will obviously come up again as the inauguration of the president draws closer for 29th of May, as well as the completion of the 8th Assembly sometime in the first or second week of June. What exactly should be avoided, in your opinion, and what should be taken into consideration?
Thank you. To start with due respect to the Honorable, what I paraphrased is what Obasanjo put in his book, not my watch. And the second one by Okonjo-Iweala, she documented it in also a book. It's not that an allusion or maybe insinuation that National Assembly is doing this or speculations. So with due respect, sir.
He's an interested party.
And I said with due respect.
He's a dramatic person in the game. So
agreed.
What he says would not be taken
that's another section of debate.
Yeah, maybe so.
But for this level, I'm only saying by source of that information.
I understand that.
I
understand that.
So my concern or closing remark is that I will still appeal to we the elites. Because the elite in every society is the cream la cream, the best and the best of the society. And the load of this Nigeria is on our head. Either the academia, either the political, either the economy, even the fourth realm of the estate, which is the press. They have a role to play as well to make sure that the issue of National Assembly leadership in relation to other leadership in Nigeria is done with trust of everyone in Nigeria. Let's trust ourselves. We should know that Nigeria operates federalism in 1954 because of our differences, as far as the colonial time, when they observe. And then we should not forget the theory of constitutionalism in our democracy. And we should not forget again that naturally, because of differences in tongue, in faith, we are more or less operating a kind of centrifugal forces. We need to operate a centripetal to bring us together. And the only way we can bring ourselves together is to entrust some leadership positions to each and everyone. Particularly, the 6th geopolitical zone should try to benefit from the 6 positions so that they can have the sense of belonging, so that there will be no rebellion whatsoever. So thank you very much because of time.
All right, Professor Kamal Bello, thank you very much. Dr. Stephen Lafenwa, your closing thoughts.
Those who have expressed interest in contesting for any of the posts, other than the posts in the hierarchy of the National Assembly, should avoid the negativity of money. Comrade Adam Osomole, the APC chairman, alluded yesterday that if PDP is giving money to APC members, they should avoid that. So please, if you are going there and you have genuine agenda, make sure you win over your colleagues with your agenda, not with money. Thank you very much, Nigeria.
And Honorable Mohammed Kumalia, a former minority leader of the House of Reps, just as part of your closing thoughts, are these positions on their own lucrative?
Well, I don't know what you mean by lucrative.
No, part of it. I mean, this is part of our political experience. When the executive begins to give out cabinet positions, you will be hearing juicy cabinet positions or juicy portfolios. Even in the National Assembly, you hear of juicy committees and so on and so forth. So,
well, I get your point, and that is part of. Thank you. That is part of the Nigerian, factor psyche in terms of how we view things. But leadership is about service, whether it's the executive arm of government like portfolios as ministers, or whether in the legislature, whatever committee you chair, it's about service, and this is the next level, so to speak. That we are supposed to gravitate towards. Our consciousness as a people should be service-driven, should be people-driven, should not be driven by the immediate personal gains that we as individuals stand to benefit from. Because you may be lucky to be in a particular position today, But are you sure that your own children would have the same privilege that you've had? So if there is no level, opportunity for every child, or as a leader, you have not done things that was going to set a stage for every child to be able to get a minimum standard of livelihood. That means you are, in other words, even shooting yourself. Because you are taking everything, you and your children.
So that makes it lucrative.
No, I mean, that makes it rather, kind of short-sighted, as it were. So, I think that should be the next level in terms of who we are and how we look at governance. But coming to my closing remarks.
No,
yes,
that should sum up
to his question. But coming to my closing remarks,
30 seconds.
I think 30 seconds. First of all, the APC as the ruling party is in the eye of the storm. What I mean here is everybody's looking at APC, what APC does. Because what APC does is going to, influence what happens in the 9th National Assembly, especially in relation to selection of leadership. So my proposal is zone these offices. Please don't leave any zone out. Don't allow any zone to dominate the offices of the government or the federation to the exclusion of the others. Please don't microzone these offices and deny the legislators, their right of choosing among the contestants the leaders of their own choice.
So it boils down to the interest of everyone.
And finally, whoever emerges as leader, you should cooperate and work with the executive arm of government in harmony with a view to delivering the dividends of democracy to the people. That's the objective.
Former minority leader, House of Representatives, Chairman Northeast Advocacy Group, Honorable Mohammed Kumalia. Thank you very much for coming on the program.
Thank you very much.
Also like to appreciate Dr. Stephen Lafenwa of the Department of Political Science, University of Ibadan. Thank you very much for coming on the program as well. And last but certainly not the least, Professor of the Department of Political Science and Administration, National Open University, Professor Kamal Bello. Thank you very much for coming on the program. And that's Good Morning Nigeria for today. The program returns tomorrow with another interesting topic. My name is Blessing Abu. Do have yourselves a great day.
And I'm Kingsley Osama. Enjoy the rest of the day as well.
Imagine a station where you access information. Think of a station that creates awareness for national development. Imagine a station that prepares you for a bright and greater future. A station for all ages. Documentaries, classroom and television, events coverage, children's programs and variety shows. Always stay tuned to NTA Knowledge on the StarTimes platform, channel 359. For partnership, sponsorship and advert placements, contact us on NTA Knowledge. NTA Knowledge, learning to broaden horizon.
This is the network service of the NTA.